As you know, I've been coaching twin flames since 2019. I myself am a twin flame knowledge of being a twin flame since 2018. And something came to me last week since I've been coaching a lot of newer twin flames, and that is there is this sense of feeling ashamed for being a twin flame. And I want to tell you right now, there is no shame in being a twin flame. We're going to talk about that today, so do stay tuned. Hi, my name is Michelle Fondin. I'm the author of 14 published books, including my latest book, Love Me Unconditionally, a spiritual guide to self-love and inner peace, and its companion workbook. I also have 2 twin flame books if you're new to this channel, Twin Flame Romance, The Journey to Unconditional Love, and Twin Flame Union, The 7 Keys to a Healthy Twin Flame Journey. You can find all of my published books on Amazon and Ingram Spark. If you're new to this channel, I want to welcome you here. We talk so much about relationships and self-love, but notably the relationship with yourself. I really want you to be able to tune into yourself right now. So to that end, I ask 3 questions at the beginning of my videos now. The first question is, how are you feeling? Tune into this right now. The second question I ask you is, what do you need? If there's anything you need right now, pause the video and go do that thing. And the third question is, what do you desire? What is your deepest driving desire today? Tune in, write down your answers if necessary, and let's get started. Let's talk about being ashamed that you're a twin flame. Let's go back a little bit. When I discovered that I was on the twin flame journey back in December of 2018, that's when I realized it. I had this aha moment, this epiphany, because there were a lot of strange things that were happening with a particular person since September of that year. By the time I got to December, I realized, oh my God, that's what this is. I was shocked and a little confused, to be honest with you. Now, I tell my story a lot, and notably in my books and in my Twin Flame Ascension Pathway, which is the online courses, including 3 Twin Flame courses I have together. But I go into great detail of my story and my twin flame journey, so you could check it out there. But the reason I'm going back this far for you in talking about being ashamed about being a twin flame is that at that time, there wasn't a whole lot about twin flames on the internet. There was a little bit, but not a lot. And so you really had to dig quite a bit to find things on twin flames. Now, around 2019, when I posted my first video on twin flames, it started to explode, meaning the awakening, the twin flame awakening started to explode, and therefore information about twin flames started to explode, but also misinformation about twin flames also started to explode. And then we fast forward to a few years ago, and there was a lot of negative press about twin flames. Now, notably, there were some bad players, which I'm not going to outline them, but there were some bad players that created a lot of media attraction to them. And then afterward, I found there was a sort of spinning into this twin flames are bad. They're all about toxic relationships and codependency and toxicity and shadows and all the negative with none of the positive. And I truly believe, because I felt this to myself, even though I had been coaching twin flames for many years. I started coaching twin flames in 2019. So I had been coaching for many years at the time, a lot of this negativity, bad press, a lot of shame, a lot of blame, a lot of shadows surrounding the words twin flame, that even I, who knew the truth, who had gone through the experience firsthand, and who had gone through a lot of personal development, self-growth, self-love. And I had listened to stories at that time, a few years back, maybe around 2022, 2023, I had heard the stories of hundreds of twin flames one-on-one with me from around the globe in most countries, right? And for me, I knew it wasn't true. There may be some grains of truth to the negativity, but it's not the entire truth. And so even me, knowing what I knew, I even felt ashamed for being a twin flame. Now that's saying something, because I'm a firm believer in this journey as a spiritual pathway toward enlightenment. Let me say it again. I am a firm believer in the twin flame journey as being one of the many ways toward spiritual enlightenment. And that is nothing to be ashamed of, nothing whatsoever. Now, part of the shame that I am hearing from one-on-one coaching sessions within the past several months, notably, it really falls around the fact that there is a lot of negativity on the internet about being a twin flame and what is a twin flame and if you're on the journey and what happens. But also, there are many people who find a twin flame connection that they were never looking for. And that's really one of the major signs, is that you were never looking for it. It just popped up in your life and blindsided you and threw you off course. That's one of the major signs. But a lot of my twin flame clients and the people that I hear about are married to somebody else or in a long-term relationship with someone else. And that is why I'm hearing time and again that there is a lot of shame, because if you didn't go looking for this, then it can feel very shameful if you're having all of these feelings for someone else. So number one would be the bad press or the negative stigma around being a twin flame. And number two would be, I'm a person of integrity. I'm a person of honor. I honor my commitments. And yet, here I am faced with this connection that I cannot deny. It can be very confusing. And yes, it can bring about a lot of shame, because you're thinking, okay, is this wrong? Am I wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Am I on the wrong path? Am I crazy? And if you truly were blindsided by a very, very strong, extraordinary, way out of the ordinary spiritual connection with another person that you cannot explain in the least, that there is no logical explanation for it, and you believe that you're on the twin flame journey because of it, know that there is absolutely no shame about that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Now, of course, we are all responsible for the decisions we make. We are all responsible for our behavior and how we act with ourselves and how we act with other people. I'm not denying responsibility here. I am the number one person who will always tell you, walk your talk. Stay in integrity. Be truthful to who you are as a person. In fact, many years ago, I can't remember which year it was, I did post a video on married and a twin flame, something to that sort. I will try to find that video and post a link up here so that you can go ahead and view that after this video if you are in that category. That wasn't my case, but I know at least 70 to 80% of all the twin flames I coach are in that category. They're either married or their twin flame is married, or they're in a long-term committed relationship, or their twin flame is in a long-term committed relationship, or both. Both of them are. That is a lot of people who are blindsided, completely thrown off their horse because of this stark realization that there is this strong soul connection that they cannot deny. Now, I mentioned something in the beginning of the video that stated being on the twin flame journey is one of the ways toward spiritual enlightenment, and I stand by that. Many people go through many spiritual awakenings in one lifetime. Some people go through one or two spiritual awakenings in a lifetime. Some go through none. I'll be frank with you. Some go through none. Some have chosen in this lifetime to not necessarily awaken to spirit, their higher spiritual selves and source and higher being, maybe to experience something else, right? We don't know. We don't know why a soul chose to come here. There are a multitude of reasons. But some people have chosen the strongest pathway towards spiritual enlightenment to be the twin flame journey. One spiritual awakening is not superior to another, and one spiritual awakening is not less or more shameful than another, right? You got to look at it like this. Your soul chose this pathway for a purpose. Now, in the case of twin flames, it was one soul split into two to incarnate into two separate bodies. Now, this may have happened over lifetimes, but they did this to evolve quicker. Now, chances are these were already very evolved souls, okay? Souls that had experienced a lot and had gone through a lot of lifetimes and evolution. The reason the twin flame journey can feel heavy and maybe even bring about the shadow, right? That a lot of people write about on the internet that turn it into something extremely negative and toxic and even dangerous is because as an evolved soul, a lot of times we like to dive into something very difficult because we have the wherewithal to overcome it. We have the strength, the inner knowing, the experience from past lifetimes to be able to endure the challenges. The Winter Olympics just ended a few months ago, and when countries send their athletes to the Olympics, are they gonna send in the rookies? If they send in a slalom skier, or if they send in a figure skater, are they gonna send in the guy or the gal who has been in the sport for less than a year? No, of course not. They are going to send their top athletes. And even then, they have to go through trials to make sure they can endure the most difficult circumstances possible. So think of yourself as a twin flame, as a top athlete, right? You're the top athlete on a soul level. The reason why you chose something so challenging in being a twin flame is because your soul knew that it could handle it. And so it might look toxic on the outside, or it might look horrible on the outside, or it might look like bad behavior on the outside, but your role is to transcend that. Your role as a twin flame is to transcend that. So there's no shame in that, right? There's no shame in how that manifests. In the same way, there's no shame for the athlete in the Olympics that falls several times. Yes, they may not get the medal, but it's a well-known fact that sometimes an athlete will fall. They'll miss the vault. They'll miss the spin. They will fall down the hill instead of meeting the hill where it is at the end. That's a known fact. If you're gonna try to do your best, sometimes you will fall. In the same way, just because the relationship with a twin flame or the relationship with yourself as you're learning self-love and transcendence through the twin flame journey, it's not going to look perfect. There's going to be a lot of trials that you are going to have to overcome, but none of that is shameful. We can certainly talk about the following in another video, but what I want to talk to you about briefly to close out this video is that being a twin flame, not only is it nothing to be ashamed of, and I've come to terms with that now, right? After those Netflix and Amazon Prime specials came out, I was like, oh my God, I want to bury my head in the sand. I don't even want to be associated with the name twin flame. But there's no shame in it, and I own that now. But secondarily, it's not a punishment. So many twin flames, again, that I've coached in the past several months have really felt not only the shame, but also that it's there to punish them, right? And maybe before that too. I just feel like the language has come out more. And again, it's probably because awareness on the internet is more expansive, and not only internet, but like social media apps and such, that there's more information and disinformation at the same time, and it can be very confusing. So not only might it make you feel shameful if you're going through that experience, especially if you're new going through that experience, but also you might feel this is a punishment. Why would this happen to me? I was going about my life, doing what I'm doing, and I was fine until this happened, right? It's not a punishment. This was pre-planned. Your souls, you and your twin soul, you pre-planned it. It was already in the works. Now, the awakening piece of it may look very different from others, and it may look different than maybe what you had planned. And that's something I certainly can talk about in another video, but it's not a punishment either. It's a gift. It truly is a gift. So I want you to take solace. I want you to breathe easier, knowing if you're a twin flame, I wouldn't shout it from the rooftops because a lot of people who are not on the journey will not understand. But you don't need to cower in fear or be afraid or be ashamed or get down on yourself because this is your journey. Just know that it's one way that your soul chose to move toward spiritual enlightenment. And that is a good thing. That is a gift. Whether you're with your person or not, that's a whole other ballgame, right? So if you would like to work with me one-on-one, there are a couple of pathways. One, you can book a reading and coaching session with me. The links are all below. Or two, or both, right? You can take my online courses, which is the Twin Flame Ascension Pathway. I will put a link to that in the description box as well. You can go to my website, michellefontenauthor.com, for all that information. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. If you know other twin flames who are kind of feeling this, feeling ashamed, feeling like this is a punishment, please forward this video to them. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not yet subscribed, give the video a thumbs up, put a comment in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.